What is up, guys? I'm going to show you how to allow connections to your Minecraft server outside of your network. So basically, we're going to learn how to port forward and allow connections to your Minecraft server so that people that are outside your home network can join your Minecraft server. So this is actually really easy to do. You might run into problems, but don't be scared of this. This is really easy stuff. So what you're going to want to do is type start and type in or press start and type in CMD or command prompt, or just locate command prompt on your computer. Once you locate command prompt, and just for tutorial sake, I'll find command prompt. Here it is, and right click it, and then go run as administrator. So run it as an administrator. It'll pop up with your command prompt screen. At this point, you want to type in ipconfig and then /all, and then hit enter. Once you do that, it's going to pull up a page that's going to look very similar to this. You're going to want to locate the spot where it says Ethernet adapter local area connection. You're going to want to note two things in here: your IP4 address and your default gateway address. So write these both down and label them as so. Okay, so your default gateway address is actually your router's IP address. So this is how we're going to access your router, is via this number here under default gateway. So get your number under your default gateway. Now if your default gateway is blank, you're probably looking at the wrong spot here. So scroll up till you can see where your default gateway gives you a number. And you'll see it'll be in there, and that will be the number you're going to connect. So open a new page on your browser, and in your URL type in your default gateway. So 192.168.0.1, or whatever your default gateway is showing right here. You type that in here, not in your Google search or in your search engine, but in your URL section. Okay, you do that, you hit enter, and it's going to bring up a screen where it'll bring up your router. Now the first thing I'm going to mention here is that your router is different from mine, and there's hundreds of different routers out there, so everything's going to look different, but that's okay. What's going to happen is it's going to say with a pop-up, and it's going to ask for your administrator password. So chances are all you have to do is hit enter. Don't give it a password, don't do anything, just hit enter, don't change the username, and you'll be able to access your router screen, which will look different. If you cannot access it and it needs a password, chances are somebody set up your router for you, like maybe your internet service provider, at which point you would have to contact them to get your router's IP. Probably the best case scenario, contact your ISP, because they probably set up your router for you, and you'll need that password. So once you get in here, you'll have something, it's going to look a lot different. But the principles of this stay the same. It doesn't really matter what router you're using. This is going to be very, very similar. So you're gonna start with different tabs, whatever, and it'll look different. Chances are you're gonna have an advanced tab somewhere. So find advanced, and then locate port forwarding. This is where you want to be. You want to be at port forwarding. Now, if you can't find port forwarding and you look through every tab, and you look through multiple tabs and you still can't find port forwarding, type in your router name on the internet and type in port forwarding. Like, help, I can't find my port forwarding tab on this router. So in my case, I'm using a D-Link here. So D-Link port forwarding, and somebody would probably have the same problem as you, and they'll tell you where to locate your port forwarding. Chances are you'll be able to find this by yourself. It's not hard to find your port forwarding section. Probably it's advanced and then port forwarding. Okay, once you get to this page, there are 3 parameters that you're going to want to need. Yours might be different. You might have to select new port forwarding rules or whatever, but the principles of this stay the same. You're going to need a name, and you can name this whatever you want. So name it Minecraft, for example, and then you're going to type, it's going to want an IP address. So the IP address that it's going to want is going to be the IP address um, of your IP4 address. So that's the IP address it's going to want. And I'm going to get into more about this later in the video. But for now, just give it, your IP4 address in here. So watch the whole video because there is something that you might need to change depending on your network. But give it this number. So there, I got that number right there. The application name, you know, is representing, just the name of this. It doesn't have to be called Minecraft. It doesn't have to be called anything. It's just, name it whatever you want. It's just an identifier for you. The computer name, this kind of stuff you don't really have to play with. All that you really need to look at is Minecraft 192.168 or whatever your local IP address is, and the ports to open. So the ports to open is 25565. So write 25565 under TCP and UDP. Now, Minecraft uses 25565 as the default port. So that's why we're using the number 25565. Now, you might not have TCP and a UDP spot. It might just say, open this port. And see TCP or UDP, and you don't have both of these parameters. At which case, you might have to enter it to look something like one of these three examples here. Now, I'm not sure because I don't know what router you're using. You could say type it in on a Google search, something along the lines of your router's name plus ports to open. Don't see parameters for UDP, DCP, something along those lines. But if what you're seeing as a port to open, try this out first, and maybe possibly one of the other three. So once that's all done, and you figured out, okay, you got your TCP in there and your UDP in there, you got your application name, which you name it whatever, and your IP4 address in there. There should be a checkbox or something, to enable it, and then you hit Save Settings. So save it. It'll save it, it'll refresh it, and it'll update it. At which point you can go on the internet and you can type in can you see me, and you could actually go to this page and give it your Minecraft port, which is a 25565. Click it, hit enter, and it'll tell you if it can see your server, and it'll tell you if your port is open. When you do this though, make sure your Minecraft server is actually open and running. Sometimes it will fail and it just doesn't want to work, so it's not like 100% tool to tell you if your server is open. I've opened different ports on different servers, and sometimes it just can't see you. So the best case scenario is to get your friend to test your server. So to figure out how or what your actual IP is, just type in what is my IP, and Google will display, right first thing, what is your IP, or just visit any link, that's on the top to get your IP. That IP is going to be the IP address that you're going to give to other players for them to join your server. So, give that IP to a friend, somebody that's outside your network to test your server. A few things that I want to take note on for you guys. Let me just recap here, is your IP4 is your local IP, and that is going to go here. Your default gateway is your router's IP, and that is going to go in your URL so you can actually access your router's page. Now, keep in mind that if you have, let's just say, 3 computers on your network, your IP4 address will change. So for example, if you're on computer 1, this could be 192.168.1.101. If you're on computer 2, it could be 192.168.1.102, and so on. So every computer will have a different IP4 address configured with it. Now the simplest way is if you just turn off every computer in your house, except for your server computer, and then run the IP config, you will get your IP4 address for that computer. Okay, because like the reason why this is a problem is because say if you have 3 computers on and your IP4 address is 192.168.1.103, and then you turn off one of your other computers, your IP4 address will change here. So what you want to do is either A, turn off every computer in the house except for the computer that you're using it on, or B, default it to the lowest number in there. So if it's 1 here, you would change it to 0. Like say if it's 101, you would change it to 100, like 100. So if this was 101, change it to 100, and you would reflect that and change that here. So if your IP address said something like this, that means you got 3 computers or 3 other connections on. So change it to 0, because your IP address will fluctuate and it could affect your port forwarding rules because that computer is no longer on. I don't know if that makes any sense to you guys, but yeah, you could run into problems if you have multiple computers and computers turn off and that IP4 address just no longer exists because that computer is off, so it might not perform properly because of that. So like I said, just default this last number here. So this last number could have been 5, for example, on yours. Figure it out by turning off all the devices to see what your actual real local IP address is, so it doesn't fluctuate. Alright guys, I hope I didn't overly confuse you, and if you do run into problems, you could type in open port program or something like that, and get something like simple port forwarding. Try to figure it out, try to do it with a program that'll open it manually for you. You'll still have to go through its setup, but this is just as easy just to do it manually. Alright guys, I hope I helped you out. Please like the video and comment if you have some problems, and I'll try to help you out.